Welcome to the introduction video of the nature of implosion. In the previous video, we briefly went through the life of Victor Schauberger. It became clear to us that he was active in various areas, all of which relate to the original way in which life reproduces itself. Although Victor Schauberger himself only published one book, he left behind countless writings in the form of letters, articles, proposals, and patents. Although some of these have undoubtedly disappeared over time, a large number are still available today, including in the Eco-Technology series compiled by Callum Coates. This 4-part book series, compiled and published by Callum Coates, contains the largest collection of authentic writings by Victor Schauberger and has been made available and published in agreement with the Schauberger family. It was the Eco-Technology series that inspired to delve into the world of ideas from Victor Schauberger, which led to the book series called Nature of Implosion. In this book series, the ideas and practical implementations of implosion are discussed in accordance with Victor Schauberger's way of thinking, in such a way that it is easy to comprehend. The Nature of Implosion book series consists of 5 books, each book of which can be found on the therefore created website called victorschauberger.com. Each part is compiled around a central theme, and as a whole series, the thinking and working methods of Victor Schauberger are discussed as completely as possible. In this video, we will briefly discuss each volume, and you will see various images or drawings that will give you some idea of the theory, the meaning of which is discussed extensively in the series of books. Although summarizing Victor's ideas in videos would be desirable and will also be attempted, the fact has to be emphasized that reading the book series, which includes many of Victor's original texts, will inform you most fully. The first part is called The Fundamentals of Implosion. This volume has the purpose to create a general picture of Victor's way of thinking and how he views the world. We will take a closer look at the process of procreation between heaven and earth that is responsible for life on earth. In addition, we will discuss which movement in that process is of essential importance. We will also take a look at the function of a form. Life is made up of many different shapes and sizes. But where do they come from, and what is the function or purpose of all these forms? Finally, a critical look is taken at current circumstances and how things could be done differently. Victor believed that man has taught himself to do everything backwards. Whereas nature uses fire to destroy overripe substances and produces water to build life, man uses fire to build a culture at the cost and expense of water. Victor said that this is why people should not be surprised that the activities they carry out are causing them to regress in evolution. In a world in which nature is moving forwards and people are moving backwards, people are completely losing their sense of place and time in a reality that is rushing past them. With the right knowledge and the will to change, the course can be set forward again. For that reason, the first part of the book series of Nature of Implosion deals with those aspects that people will have to take to heart in order to contribute again as worthy participants in evolution. In the second part, entitled Blood of Mother Earth, we will look at the original source of Victor's knowledge. Whereas the first part of the book is mainly about theory, the theory stems from nature, in particular from Victor Schauberger's experiences as a young forest wanderer and later as a forester. This part focuses on discussing nature and the ways in which Victor learned from nature, in particular flowing water. The first thing we look at is the water cycle, in which water evaporates from the earth, falls back down as rain, then infiltrates the earth and completes its cycle there before rising again and flowing out through a spring. From the spring, the water flows down along the mountains, following the same kind of path as it does when it swirls through the air or rises from the earth, meandering back and forth. According to Victor, this pattern contains both a discharging and charging phenomenon of water and leads to what has become known as a meandering river current. In this water, a special phenomenon occurs according to Victor, namely a kind of two-way traffic, a central upstream current that is surrounded by a downstream current. The upstream current is caused by a reactive suction force, that is to say, a suction that arises from the interactions of oppositely charged elements that rotate around each other in a downstream direction, whereby they are naturally attracted to each other and undergo a transformation in the process. The very first experience with this phenomenon was when Victor came face to face with a trout that was standing still in a wildly flowing stream. How could the trout remain motionless in the wild water, he wondered, when the trout suddenly shot upstream with a single stroke of its fin? This experience raised several questions for him, the answers to which have gradually become more understandable over the years and are discussed in this volume. Victor explained the peculiar behavior of the still trout and the almost inexplicable phenomenon that trout can climb waterfalls dozens of meters high. Gradually, the importance of the river, the flowing water, and the preservation of natural waterways became increasingly clear to Victor. When he saw that the miraculous work of nature was being interfered by mankind in an incorrect manner, Victor's voice regularly spoke out to warn about the consequences. Rivers were straightened, banks were cleared, dams were built, and hydroelectric installations were installed. Victor labeled these activities one by one as pointless labor and made various attempts to make his fellow man see where he thought the mistake lay. Both the problems and solutions that Victor encountered when it came to river regulation, repairing the banks, and optimizing and utilizing the power of water are discussed extensively as a condition for first learning to understand nature. Based on the understanding built up in the first two volumes, the practical applications discussed in the third volume can be understood in their true effect and function. The third part, entitled The Physical Firstborn, is therefore focused on the applications of implosion. That is to say, the ways in which Victor was able to copy the natural reproductive process. The first part of this volume discusses the repulsator, also known as the spring water device. Subsequently, the emphasis is placed on transporting water, discussing various tube configurations, including the double spiral tube and the whirl pipe. The whirl pipe appeared to have played a central role in the water experiments that Victor conducted at the Technical University in Stuttgart. In this book, we take a closer look at this experiment and the astonishing results that showed that, under natural conditions, the reaction can be a multiple of the action. This principle formed the basis of the implosion engine, in which the whirl pipe also played a central role. Later, the implosion engine also became known as the home power generator. It is one of the few devices that Victor himself is actually photographed with. Despite this, it was not his only invention based on implosion. Perhaps his most famous invention is called the repulsine. This is a disc-shaped device that rotates at high speed and in which air is sucked in from above. The oxygen present in the air comes into contact with the casing of the repulsine, which is made up of copper and therefore a carbon substance. The opposite oxygen and carbon elements enter into a reaction with each other in the repulsine, and the resulting product is blown out at the bottom of the device. However, in the device, the resulting product has undergone spatial densation by cooling to a temperature of 4 degrees Celsius, causing it to expand again after it flows out of the device. Because this concentrated and densated end product expands as it flows out and is guided sideways under the repulsine, this leads to an upward pressure at the bottom. In combination with the suction of air that occurs at the top, the result is that the device takes off, or you might say, starts to levitate. Although this was not the intention, the repulsine has therefore also become known as the flying saucer. Originally, the repulsine was intended to accelerate itself into rotation, with this rotation then being slowed down by means of a dynamo, for example. In this way, a sustainable power source is generated, just like the dynamo on your bicycle, which can be used to generate light or, in larger cases, to power a generator. Because the repulsine only needs air to function, it is a very simple and cheap way to generate energy. This way, valuable raw materials such as wood, coal, oil, and water can be saved, and, in harmony with nature, energy can be generated from the substance that is naturally intended for that purpose. This book discusses in detail how this works and how this invention can be utilized. This is also where is discussed how such a device can convert warm air into cold air and cold air into warm air, so that rooms can be heated or cooled in a simple, sustainable, and inexpensive way. Victor called this variation on the repulsine the climator, or climate regulator. Victor Schauberger's implosion equipment works entirely in accordance with the natural principles of reproduction. In relation to this, Victor said that it is only necessary to set the right movement in motion, and as a result, the primal engine of life will start to operate automatically. The way in which Victor activated this primal engine is discussed at length in this volume of the Nature of Implosion series. The following fourth volume of the Nature of Implosion series, entitled The Cradle of Life, discusses the essential role the forest plays in regulating the water balance on Earth. It will become clear that every individual link, every tree, plant, or bush in the forest is part of a larger whole. It will furthermore become clear how important soil cover is and how light or shade influences the ultimate quality of what grows. Unfortunately, we will also have to take a look at the life-threatening consequences of deforestation. This warning is necessary to turn the tide, because Victor emphasizes that without forests there is no water, and without water there is no life. As we will discuss and will become clear in this volume, forests are not water consumers but water producers, and, for that reason, among others, are essential for a healthy water table and the preservation of soil fertility. In the last and fifth part of the Nature of Implosion series, called The Place of Birth, this soil fertility is discussed in relation to agriculture. At this point, it is clear to us what the role of water, light, and shade is, and in what ways the highest quality growth can be achieved. With this knowledge, we can look at the best ways to work the soil. We will see that not only the alloy and the shape of the material used plays a decisive role in this, but also the position of the sun. We will also discuss the different ways in which the soil can be fertilized, because Victor Schauberger also had innovative ideas about that. For example, by mixing rainwater with clay in a wooden barrel, the oppositely charged elements in the water and clay are bound together when the liquid substance is stirred, alternating left and right under the influence of higher and lower sounds. This process is called tonsingen and results in a liquid manure preparation in the form of amniotic fluid that must then be spread over the field in the morning before sunrise. The substances bound in this water will then transfer to the soil that substance that stimulates the metabolic processes between heaven and earth, and do so to such a degree that an increase in growth is the natural consequence. Several of the agricultural methods discussed that Victor mentions were, according to him, already known to the old farmers, but have been increasingly pushed into the background in modern times. The consequences of this can be seen in the declining quality of both soil and crops. In this book, we will see how Victor also exposed this deteriorating development and offered a helping hand for reconstruction through a return to nature. This book also discusses how the decomposition processes of organic waste can be organized in such a way that a high-quality binding process simultaneously takes place, which will also indirectly result in a qualitative soil yield and increased soil fertility. Anyone who takes the effort to study the nature of implosion will be showing to not just themselves, but to all life in general, a valuable service. They will find the answers to the most fundamental questions of existence. What is energy and what is movement? What role does form play? Why does someone get sick and why does someone stay healthy? How do I maintain the health and fertility of the environment? How can we, as humans, work towards a valuable existence? If those questions do not evoke an urgent desire for an answer in you, then the content of the nature of implosion is just the thing for you. It would mean that you are somewhat lost and need a helping hand to get back on the right track. For those who find themselves asking the aforementioned questions to themselves, the content of the nature of implosion will bring about an indefinable hunch. Thank you for watching.